So he just said this is a Frontline New York Times special report. Well, Frontline, again, is public broadcasting service, station service, I guess it's service, funded by the U.S. government. And New York Times is just a garbage tabloid in the United States. It's a newspaper. 30 years ago, something getting published in the New York Times or somebody working for the New York Times was notable. It was considered a respectable, or at least semi-respectable publication. I mean, it's always been a mouthpiece for propaganda, but at least whatever, they had, full-time reporters or something. Reporters and writers aspired to work for the New York Times. Now it's a tabloid garbage. So this is, and New York Times is just a advertising platform for the drug companies. So this is going to be pretty bad. If they're affiliated with the New York Times, it just made this whole thing worse.
This is a product that was formulated for people who are under severe stress.
This is an herb that would be great for older individuals that are concerned about
joint supplement.
It's estimated that half of all Americans take a health supplement every day.
That one is going to be amazing for supporting.
It encapsulates the nutrients in a non-GMO soy less antioxidant.
It's a $30+ billion industry.
I will guarantee you that this will change your reality within 3 to 5 days.
Companies range from big pharma to mom and pop.
I started in my kitchen making them by hand back in the 80s. I would order the ingredients, I would order the capsules, and with a plate of 100 capsules, I would weigh it out and fill them up, and you have a bottle of 100 capsules of any particular vitamin you wanted.
Do you have background in pharmacology or medicine or any expertise in this area?
I did some college, but most of my time was spent in the medical libraries at Stony Brook.
So you sort of were self-taught then, were you?
Self-taught, correct, yes.
Candace Tripp called her company Purity First. She says she was helped by her then husband, Terrence Doolin, a chiropractor.
And what was his academic background or expertise?
So obviously, I mean, they're starting this out by showing a woman who taught herself how to do this in her kitchen, and she's married to a chiropractor. And they showed his picture, in kind of this gray, weird-looking, colorization. Well, anyway, you get it. I mean, this whole thing is already slanted, and we're just seconds into this. I mean, I'm 2 minutes and 13 seconds into this.
In this area?
He was a chemist. He was a chemist in college, and then he went on to chiropractic school.
From modest beginnings, she says she grew the business into a $500,000 a year enterprise, selling on the web, in stores, and through local alternative healthcare providers.
Purity First is a great name, and I said, gee, how can you go wrong? It's what you would imagine that you would want in every single vitamin, that it's absolutely pure.
Vinny Grosso was an early Purity First customer. The vitamins became part of his daily quest for better health.
I felt fine. And of course, I'm running every day. I'm feeling great up until the October, November, December timeframe of 2012, where I had some very unusual symptoms.
It started with unexplained back pain that soon became debilitating. He then started hearing from other Purity First customers with troubling symptoms of their own.
I'm hearing stories. My daughter is an honor student. She's on the swim team, but she's been thrown out of school for being overly aggressive. I'm talking to a woman who had lost her position in a choir because her voice had changed. I'm talking to another woman who said, I've got these incredible bleeding scales on my head and I can't go to work.
They were all taking the same vitamins, recommended, they say, by Terrence Doolin, the chiropractor, now a naturopath. Doolin declined to be interviewed and denies any responsibility.
Terry had come to me in January and asked me if I thought anything was wrong because he said there was some blood tests coming back that was funky. At that point, we had just had Hurricane Sandy come through. And a lot of people were getting sick after they were in their basements cleaning up water. And that's why he had recommended people go see this other doctor.
Right.
And they started going to see Dr. Spaeth.
We had an examination, and he said to me, what is it that all of you who've come to me in the past month and a half have one commonality? You've all taken Purity First B50 vitamins.
It's estimated there are 85,000 dietary supplements for sale in the United States today.
Right here I have our liposomal D.
So this is our bacopa. This is an herb that would be great for older individuals that are
The essential nutrients like chromium.
With so many pitches and promises, you might assume that some government agency has approved them before allowing them onto the market.
The FDA does not do any review of dietary supplements before they come onto the market, and I think that all consumers need to understand this.
No testing.
So that was kind of a stupid statement. He said that the FDA doesn't do a review of the products. Well, that's because they're in a category called GRAS, which is generally recognized as safe. So if a product is generally recognized as safe, like vitamins and minerals, which are essential for the human body, they don't really need a review. And what review would the government provide? That they're necessary? I mean, that would be the conclusion. That's why they're in the category called generally recognized as safe. So it was kind of a stupid statement. But they're just trying to spin this to make everything look suspicious. I mean, even the shading and the music is all, anxiety producing. Okay, so keep going.
No obligation to provide any evidence a product is effective or even safe. The one thing manufacturers...
So the only... I specifically commented on his statement with regard to vitamins and minerals and amino acids and things that are, again, inherent to the human body. However, when we consider other supplements like botanicals, as he stated, they don't have to, and it's kind of, the whole thing's weird. They don't have to demonstrate, or there's almost like no pathway to demonstrate. So on the one hand, he's attacking the industry, but he's attacking the industry for something that's actually a shared fault or a shared responsibility with the FDA. Because the FDA is basically set up to force the nutrition industry to fail, in a sense, or to make it so complicated that they almost can't win. And then he's attacking the industry for not winning or not demonstrating safety and effectiveness in a system that's essentially designed to block the demonstration of safety and effectiveness. So the whole thing is a bit odd.
do have to show is that they follow good manufacturing practices. The FDA conducts inspections for that, but it's limited by resources and by information.
We actually don't know the total number of manufacturers that we need to be able to inspect because there is no formal registration system that is required of manufacturers that make dietary supplements. And so we do inspections of the ones that we know about.
So again, that was a stupid statement. He says the U.S. government or the FDA doesn't even have like an obligatory registration system. Well, that's not the fault of the industry if the government itself is failing to, have some type of list or force the companies to register themselves. In that sense, what he just said, he's describing it as a fault of the industry, or he's trying to make it look like a fault of the industry. But actually, if the government hasn't, or the FDA hasn't enforced like a certain registration platform, then the companies who haven't registered with something that's not obligatory for them to register, then they're fully compliant. So that's not the fault of the industry. That's a shortcoming of the regulation or the regulators. So again, what they're trying to do here, as I've already stated, is they're trying to make everything look like it's the fault of the industry, when in fact, a lot of this would be shared responsibility or shared blame with the FDA itself.
The FDA did know about a supplement manufacturer that used to operate here. In 2012 and again in the spring of 2013, Mira Health Products was cited by FDA inspectors for violating manufacturing codes. Among the products Mira produced, Candace Tripp's Purity First vitamins.
I had a lot of faith in Mira because he was more of a smaller scale manufacturer. He wasn't one of these big pharmaceutical company that just didn't really make you warm and fuzzy.
What did you do to try to verify that this was a reputable company that would make the product that you wanted?
They're supposed to test the product and give you an analysis at the end that what is in the capsule is what they've tested, and the certificate is supposed to be certified, and this is what your product is.
Did they give you those certificates?
I believe, yes, they did. They gave us those, and there didn't seem to be a problem.
But by 2013, there was a problem. Dr. Kenneth Spaeth, who specializes in environmental health, is the man those Purity First customers turn to investigate their symptoms. He arranged for the B50 vitamins to be tested, and the results were a shock. The capsules were laced with 2 anabolic steroids. Joe Quayler, Candace Tripp's current husband, took it up with Mira's owner.
I called Mike and said pretty much what could have happened. And, he was making the male enhancement pills. And he said, Joe, he said, if they found any type of steroids in there, the only thing I could possibly think is maybe the mixer was not cleaned enough.
You go to
By now, Purity First customers had started hiring lawyers and sharing their stories.
Change in the voice, change in the sexual organs, hair growth on a young lady with one of our clients, basically developing mustache, beard, the female sexual organs taking on a male configuration. For the men who ingested these things, they develop what's called gynecomastia. You end up with male breasts.
It would take the FDA nearly 6 months to get the Purity First vitamins off the market, a response Dr. Spaeth calls glacial. He declined to be interviewed on camera, but he shared email exchanges with us, detailing his efforts to get the FDA to act. Spaeth says he suspected contamination, but his first inquiry went unanswered. When he emailed again asking if the lack of response was a lack of interest, he was referred to the FDA's hotline for adverse reactions called MedWatch. Spaeth had tried the line, been transferred and put on hold before being disconnected twice.
So again, what they're describing right now are faults with the FDA itself. That's not a fault with the nutrition industry per se. So they could have the spin that they're trying to provide in this documentary, which it's not even a documentary, it's just an attack piece. But they're trying to target the nutrition industry. This section of the conversation should be targeting and showing the deficits of the FDA itself. If the FDA itself isn't responding to a concern about contaminated products, that's not the fault of the entire nutritional industry. I mean, they're only showing, this is only an anecdote anyway. This is only one case out of, thousands or millions. But what they're showing here is a systematic failure of the FDA itself. So that's the fault of the FDA. That's not the fault of the nutrition industry.